your player character sheet. D&D is a fantastic game that brings joy to people all over the world, but at its heart, like many other TTRPGs, it involves rolling dice and doing math. Not really selling it right now, am I? This math is influenced by a variety of factors, usually at the DM's discretion. But there is certain holy math that can never be touched, unless the DM decides that they can touch it. The character sheet houses everything that's mechanically essential to your own character. Your abilities, your equipment, your inventory, your spells, and more. And that's a lot of things to keep track of. So the character sheet is pretty much a requirement to play. Because of this, we want to make sure that our character sheet is always as accurate as possible. But this can be confusing at times since there are a lot of factors that affect how your sheet is structured. And in turn, this affects basically every aspect of how you play. During a session, we want our focus to be on having fun with our friends. So it's worth it to make sure the math is all good before you start playing. So if you've never made a character before, or you just want to double check that you're doing it right, here's a quick guide. Welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. Obviously, the first thing you should do is crack open the Player's Handbook and read through Chapter 1, Playing the Game. You can also check out our video that goes over the basics. That goes over the key ingredients that form the recipe of our favorite TTRPG. How does the game work? What are dice? What are features? What are all those things? We won't go over all those details in this video, so make sure to review that information before watching further. Your character sheet is made up of all the little mechanics and numbers that make up the game. So if you don't have a grip on that, your character sheet won't really make any sense. Instead, we're going to follow along with Chapter 2, Creating a Character, Picking a Class. The first thing that a lot of people think about when making a D&D character is their class. It indicates what abilities you have, both in and out of combat. It's the core fantasy. I tend to think about who my character is as opposed to what. So often I think about my species and a potential background before I think about picking a class. There's no wrong way to think about your character, but for simplicity's sake, let's follow along with the handy step-by-step list that WotC provides. The Player's Handbook, or the PHB as we call it, has a little window here with information about a balanced party, which is decent information to have if your party is full of first-timers. But in my opinion, you should honestly ignore it. Make a character that you want to make, and your DM will make the game work for whatever party composition you have. Yes, you should have an all-bard party. So we start by picking our class. I'm not here to tell you what to pick. Everyone has their own opinions. But since I'm writing the script, I'll pick one of my favorites, the Warlock. My girlfriend AB wrote this script. My favorite class is the Wizard, but she picked the Warlock. I'll name her Gwendolyn. According to the class overview table, the Warlock is someone charismatic and interested in occult lore. It's also described as high complexity. Don't let that scare you though. All of the spellcasters are at least average complexity, simply due to the fact that you have to manage your spells. It's a whole process we'll get to later in the video. Magic is fun, but it can also be a bit complicated. This class overview table is a nice way to quickly get an idea of what your character does at a mechanical level. If you want to be powerful and swinging around a huge sword, it's probably a good idea to pick a class whose primary ability is strength. And if you want to be the resident nerd at the table, pick the Wizard. Hey B, come on. I decided I wanted to be edgy, so I'm a Warlock. I might be tempted to go read through the entire Warlock class and get overwhelmed by the massive amounts of information. But the PHB wants me to just do one thing. Note my armor training. For me, that's light armor, so I'll mark it down in the equipment and training proficiency section of my sheet. If you're following along with this video, make sure you're writing in the correct information for whatever character you're creating. The Wizard, for example, has no armor proficiency, while the Fighter is proficient in both simple and martial weapons. Make sure you get those things right. Picking an origin. Next up is determining my origin. This means choosing a background, a species, and 2 languages. According to the PHB, a character's background represents the place and occupation they were most formative for the character. The combination of background and species and languages provides fertile soil for your imagination as you ponder your character's earliest days. Personally, this is some of my favorite stuff about character creation. I love digging into who my character is as a person, who are their parents, where did they grow up, what was an influential method in their childhood. When I take the time to really think about my character's origin, I am able to come up with a 3-dimensional person, someone that's interesting both in and out of combat. So for my Warlock, I'll take a look at the charisma-focused backgrounds that I think would be compelling. I think it would be compelling if Gwendolyn's story was about a fall from grace, so I'm going to pick Noble. I love the idea of having a cushy life that's violently changed by a sudden acquisition of magic. Every background gives you 4 different things: a feat, skill proficiencies, a tool proficiency, and equipment. Noble gives you the skilled feat, so I get proficiency in 3 skills or tools of my choice. I think Gwendolyn was raised in a traditional manner, so as a woman of a noble house, she was taught music from a young age. She could play the harp, she could sing, so I'll give her proficiency in history, sleight of hand, and performance. Oops, looks like the noble feat actually gives me proficiency in history as well as persuasion, so I'll just pick Arcana instead. That kind of stuff comes up all the time when you're making a character. Certain features give you choices, while others give you specific rewards or proficiencies. So you'll sometimes bound things around as you go through character creation. That's all fine. Lastly, as a noble, Gwendolyn gets a tool proficiency and some equipment. I think she's the spoiled youngest daughter, so she definitely has an ivory dragon chess set that was given to her by one of her older brothers. They would play together all the time growing up, so she's proficient. She also has her collection of fine clothes, perfume, and gold. Alright, that's the background picked, and I feel like Gwendolyn is starting to crystallize. Before we move on to species, I'm going to quickly check my Warlock class proficiencies. Looks like I get 2 more skills. So I'll add religion and investigation. I gave her proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws, and I know how to use simple weapons. I also get some starting equipment. I can choose between a selection of items or a bunch of gold. The gold is great for people with a specific build in mind, but since we're just starting out, let's pick the starter items. Although I do think it would be very in character for Gwendolyn to start an adventure with a fat purse as opposed to already owning adventuring items. Next up is species. I've been picturing her as a human this whole time, so I'm picking human. Our playgroup plays a lot of humans. That means she's medium size. She has a speed of 30 feet. Each species gives different mechanical benefits, so if you don't have a particular preference, pick the one whose abilities seem the coolest to you. As a human, Gwendolyn is resourceful. She gains heroic inspiration whenever she finishes a long rest. In our games, we call it human inspiration, so there are plenty of times when we're just screaming, "Don't forget human inspiration! Don't forget human inspiration!" And then they re-roll. She's also skillful, which means that we get yet another skill proficiency. Let's pick acrobatics. I imagine she's wandered all over the grounds as a kid, getting into nooks and crannies she wasn't supposed to, scaling fences and climbing out of windows, climbing the watchtower, having a fall. Hang on. She was definitely a hassle for her parents. Humans are also versatile, which means they get a bonus origin feat. To me, that's one of the strongest benefits of playing a human, since origin feats pull a lot of weight in the early game. Since I mentioned Gwendolyn can sing, let's pick the musician origin feat. That gives her proficiency with 3 instruments. Let's say lyre, flute, and tambourine. It also gives her the encouraging song ability, which gives heroic inspiration to allies who can hear the song. This can be a great boost for party members that aren't human, since humans get heroic inspiration every day. Finally, I have to pick Gwendolyn's languages. I think elves and dwarves are 2 of the most common species in her country, so her education involved learning Elvish and Dwarvish. Determine ability scores. Alright folks, no more boring stuff. It's time to determine our ability scores. This is the game juice, the bula, the holy sextant that determines whether the DM is giving you a look of pity or excitement after you toss your d20 into your $50 custom-ordered wooden dice tray. When calculating your score, make sure to keep in mind your character's class and key abilities. Gwendolyn is a warlock, so charisma is king for her. It's also useful to remember that constitution directly affects how much health you have, and that dexterity affects AC, your armor class, for light armors. There's 3 different ways to calculate your scores, but before you start writing in those numbers, make sure to check with your DM. They might have a preference or might want everyone at the table to use the same method. The easiest method to use is standard array. You get the stats 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. It's plug and play. Put the numbers where you want and get playing. This also means everyone has the same stats. There's even a handy chart here that shows the PHB's recommendation of standard array stat placements by character class. A similarly structured method is the point cost or point buy system. The system gives you 27 points to spend on ability scores. The more points you put in, the more expensive it is. There's another handy chart here for you. To be honest, I still forget how this works, and I tend to just look up a point buy calculator online. It's usually the easiest way to do it. And lastly, you can randomly generate your stats. This is the sort of big risk, big reward method. You roll 4 d6 and keep the highest total of the 3 highest dice. You do this 5 more times and you have 6 numbers. Those are your stats. I'm sure you can tell that the random nature of this method means you could end up with both very powerful stats or absolutely awful ones. Hell, if you theoretically roll 1 on all your dice, you are the world's worst adventurer. Possibly the world's worst human. You'd be worse than the commoner. Do you want to be worse than the commoner? In order to combat this, many DMs provide alterations to this method. I use a method which comes from Matt Colville, that if you don't have at least 2 15s, you re-roll everything. He's since abandoned that because it makes characters too powerful, but some people seem fine with that. In Critical Role, they roll 5 and take the 2 lowest out, then add the other 3 together, which created insane stats for the new campaign. I think random generation would be fun for this one-off character creation video, so I'll do that right now. Hey, that's really good. I got an 18. I now need to do it 5 more times. I got an 8, a 9, an 11, a 13, 15, and an 18. An 18 at level 1 is bonkers, so even though my low end is pretty low, this is still a pretty good result. She'll have 8 strength and 9 wisdom, so a -1 modifier. Constitution is 11, so no modifier. 13 for intelligence, so +1. 15 into dexterity, so +2. And 18 into charisma, which is a whopping +4 at level 1. Crazy. This is actually a really great setup because there is one more bonus from backgrounds that we haven't discussed. It allows us to increase one ability score by 2 and another one by 1, or increase 3 different ability scores by 1. So if I bump Gwendolyn's con, int, and dex by 1, all of those modifiers will go up by 1, because the modifiers only change on the even numbers for the score. These are nice stats for a level 1 character. If only I was actually playing her. Alignment. Now that we've determined our ability scores, we can choose our character's alignment. Since Gwendolyn is a hero, I won't be picking up anything evil. If you have some sneaky ideas, make sure to always check with your DM before going ahead with that. Lots of DMs don't want evil characters at their table. I think because she's grown up pretty sheltered, she'd be neutral good. She doesn't go out of her way to protect the innocent, but she still strives to do the right thing on a daily basis. Perhaps as she goes on adventures and sees the trouble that people face, this changes for her. She might move towards lawful good. Then fill in other details, like magic. Now that we've determined the details specific to our character, it's time to fill in everything else on the character sheet. At level 1, Gwendolyn gains 2 Warlock class features. The first is a single Eldritch Invocation. The Eldritch Invocation list is pretty long, especially since many of them are meant to be chosen at later levels and have specific requirements. At level 1, Gwendolyn learns the Armor of Shadows, which lets her cast Mage Armor for free. This lets her up her AC without wearing armor. Gwendolyn is a spoiled noble girl that doesn't know how to fight, so I think her first priority would be to protect herself. I'll write Mage Armor down in my cantrips and prepared spells section. The other feature she gains at level 1 is Pact Magic. Through mysterious circumstances, she's been gifted with magic, which means I have to deal with spellcasting. It's one of the more complicated parts of D&D. One of the biggest character divides in this game is between those who can cast spells and those who cannot. Martial classes, you can skip this section. Though be aware that you'll all have at least one subclass which grants you the ability to cast spells. Maybe not all, but many of you. So you might end up back here eventually. If this is your first time playing, you might want to skip spellcasting altogether and play a martial class. But spells are one of the most fun mechanics of the game and they're incredibly versatile, so eventually you're going to want to figure them out. In addition to her magic, there are certain class-specific numbers that I would fill out on Gwendolyn's character sheet. It's very important that I note down her proficiency bonus, which at level 1 is +2. If you're confused about proficiency bonus, it goes up by 1 point every 5 levels. There's a chart in the player's handbook. This number is added to every single skill, tool, weapon, and ability that your character is proficient in. So together with your ability score modifiers, you'll go through all my saving throws and skills and calculate the correct bonus. As a warlock, my hit die is a d8. At level 1, my total hit points are the full value of that die plus my con modifier. So Gwendolyn has 9 hit points. Oof, the brittle bones of a spellcaster. If you were a wizard, you'd have 6. Your initiative is just your dex modifier, so Gwendolyn has a +3. There are features that change this, but she doesn't have any. Regardless of armor or shield, your base armor class is 10 plus your dex mod. So Gwen's base AC is 13. But because of her ability to cast Mage Armor for free, her AC is effectively 16 as long as she remembers to cast Mage Armor. Both Eldritch Blast and Witch Bolt involve ranged spell attacks. To calculate my attack bonus, I add my spellcasting ability modifier to my proficiency bonus. So it's 4 plus 2, it's 6. Similarly, all spellcasters have a spell save DC. It's the same calculation as your spell attack bonus plus 8. So 14 for Gwen. It's also important to note however many spell slots you have at level 1. For Gwen, it's a single slot, so she better use it wisely. Just like that, I put together a character sheet for Gwen. She's ready for adventure. Wow, that was a lot of information. D&D is a big game, and it's got a lot of stuff in it, and that can be overwhelming. If this felt like too much, or there's things you're still confused about, that's completely normal. One of the best ways to get comfortable with this process is to make characters with your fellow party members. Maybe one of them has played your class before, or read the PHB ahead of time to prepare for character creation. Talk to your DM. Even if they're brand new, a lot of times for this stuff, 2 heads is better than 1. And even if, after all of that, you end up making a mistake, that's also fine. You guys are playing a game together. You had fun. That's what matters. There are certain sections of the internet that obsess over character creation. They try to min-max the process, telling you that there is a correct way to do it. Don't pay them any mind. As long as you follow the rules of the game, there is nothing wrong with your character. And if it turns out that you really hate playing your class, let your DM know. Everyone wants everyone to have fun. If you don't feel like managing spells, then your DM should let you swap. Tell them I said so. That might mean retiring your character, or going on some sort of destiny-shifting side quest, or maybe just a retcon. Maybe your character could never cast spells, or maybe something happens to them, a weird blast. Whatever gave them their power takes it back. Just work with your DM and figure it out. Remember that the character sheet isn't the character. The character is in our head, in your actions, how you roleplay at the table. The sheet is just there so you know what to add when you roll dice and what you can do by default. All of that to say, the most important thing to do is to just have fun with it. And if you don't have a group to play with, go check out startplaying.games. Over 80,000 players trust the site to find their groups. You can check with verified DMs, look at the reviews to see which ones suit you. You can find a game on your schedule, on your timetable. You can sign up today and play tonight. So if you're struggling to find a group, go check out startplaying.games and tell them I sent you by using the link in the description. You can literally just go on there and browse what games are available, looking at thumbnails, descriptions, time slots. You can filter by those things and find something that suits you perfectly and gets you excited to play, that works with your schedule. So if you're in an area where you can't find any other friends to play with, or maybe you have played with a bunch of people and you don't like them, go find a group of your dreams on startplaying.games. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend, and if you want to support us directly, consider joining our Patreon to get access to our Discord, where a community of DMs can help you get started yourself. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.